Hello, this is wmpyr. Happy holidays. Thank you so much for sticking with me for this year. It's been a rough year, but hope yours is better than mine, and hopefully things will only get better and better. So, I have my chin up and looking forward to the future. Anyway, I got a question from Mr. Nathan, and he says, "Hey, wmpyr, can you do a video about some real strategic motions for a real-life fight if someone has a weapon of some sort like a knife or bat and you don't have a weapon on you and none are to be found? Thank you for your time and videos." So first of all, let me just say to Mr. Nathan, thank you for the interesting question. The knife and the bat, basically, if the bad guy has a knife, let me focus on the knife, not the baseball bat. So if the bad guy has a knife and I'm empty-handed, how to defend against that, basically. And before showing you techniques, okay, here's an empty-handed technique against the knife, before showing you that kind of stuff, and before you start looking up that kind of stuff, I think it's more important to understand the main idea of what's going on here, right? And from an eskrima term, we have a hierarchy, right? A hierarchy is very important to understand. When the other guy has a knife, the number one weapon for me to have to defend myself against the knife is the stick. The stick in the Philippines is the number one anti-knife weapon, all right? You might be thinking, well, what about a firearm? Sure, of course, but in this case, it's no longer eskrima. So, sticking to eskrima, kali, and arnis, then we go with a stick or tactical baton or something along those lines. We also train with a short sword, a machete, something along those lines, so a large bladed weapon. What about that? Well, if I have that and my opponent has a knife, then I have the advantage. So this is no longer self-defense. This is me just basically murdering the other guy. This is like war. So, we're sticking to self-defense here. So from a self-defense perspective, it's still, the stick is the number one weapon that I want against this guy who has a knife. The number two, which is not as good as the stick, is going to be a knife for me as well. So we're both going to have knives. You might be thinking, well, if you both have knives, you're both equal, therefore it's not a self-defense situation. But actually it is, because remember, they're attacking me. Because they're attacking me, they have the advantage, because action is faster than reaction. So even though we both have knives, and let's say it's like the same length and everything else is about equal, experience, body size, all that, let's say is about roughly equal, because they're attacking me first, we can still call this self-defense because they have the advantage there. So the next thing, which is not as good as the knife, so we're going lower and lower and lower, right? In training, we train with sticks, we train with knives, and then we train empty hand. So the other person can attack me, my training partner can attack me with a training knife, and I could defend that with empty hand, and vice versa, right? We have drills like that. That's where we get to do some disarm practice and stuff. Well, so you might be thinking, okay, we went from sticks, knives, so the next must be empty hand. It's not. In training, number three is empty hand. But in real life, it's improvised weapons. And then it's empty hand. So empty hand is the lowest of the low. We really don't want to go there, right? So after knife, it's an improvised weapon. So you just grab whatever it is that you can and use that, because that's better than using your hand against this guy who has a knife, okay? And if you truly understand that, then when you go out in public, I always have improvised weapons on me, and I also have weapons on me, and when I go into a room or wherever I go to, whether it's the mall, a restaurant, a bookstore, a library, whatever, I'm always looking for improvised weapons. That's just part of my training. It's ingrained. So I do that. It's impossible for me to go up against a guy with a weapon empty-handed. It's something that I completely avoid. The only way that could happen is I'm going to be aware, so I know that the attack is coming, and if they attack me, it can be so fast. An attack can be so quick that I don't have time to get to the improvised weapon. I don't have time to get to my knife. That's the only circumstance. But I'm getting out of that circumstance as fast as I can, and I will get to an improvised weapon. I will get to a weapon ASAP. So I'm going to change that situation as fast as I can at the right moment. All right. So please keep that in mind. So that's like the only time that I could think of that I'm not going to have an improvised weapon, but it will always, they're there. It's just a matter of when is the right time to go for it, because I don't want to go for the weapon at the wrong time. And I definitely don't want to play a speed game where it's like, can this person attack me first before I get to my weapon? I don't want to play that. So I'm going to defend their attack and then get to my weapon. But there's no doubt I'm going to get to my weapon. You know what I mean? Unless I could take them out without it, which they have to be weaker than me, pretty much. They have to be pretty weak for that to happen. So before you start looking for empty-handed techniques, the eskrima logic that I teach is that we don't do empty hand against the weapon. That's the idea there. It's not so much that there's some miraculous empty hand technique to go up against a knife or a baseball bat. I don't think that exists. I really don't. So if you see on YouTube someone says they have it, I'm very doubtful of it. Even if there is a good technique, like a really good technique, it still won't change the fact that you are going to need hard work. You are going to need skill to back that up. You are going to need to be fit to back that up. Those things are way more important than the technique. Technique is actually just like technique and strategy is just like almost like preference. Everybody has their own style. Everybody has their own ideas of what works and what doesn't work. But ultimately, it's a matter of how much practice have you put in, how good of a fighter are you, the individual. All right, so anyway, that's the main idea. I hope it helps. Thank you for listening, and take care, folks.